Hello everyone, this is the Easy SMX 9124, a controller with a good D-pad, good analog sticks, and good overall build quality. But today, we're gonna review the newer model, the ESM 9124 Pro. This version is upgraded with Hall effect sticks, triggers, and rubber membranes that are more durable than the usual. The box is still pretty simple. You have the controller inside, a 2.4 GHz dongle, the manuals, and the cables. If you want to take a look at the manual, just pause the video. The controller still retains the same look and feel of the original, and has the same buttons, the same ergonomics, and the same overall aspect. But when I picked it up, I immediately noticed some improvements. The analog stick is not so slippery anymore. In the first version, I recommended using stick grips to avoid this issue. But now, on this one, the sticks are much better. They used a different rubber. You can even see that when I attempt to scratch it, it leaves no marks in the rubber. The buttons are exactly the same. They have the same travel distance and the same resistance. And they have the same backlight too. The switches for the back buttons are also improved here. You can see how loud they were in the first version. Now they are much more quieter. In the first one, the shoulder buttons had rubber membranes. On the new version, they have been improved to have mechanical switches. And the Hall effect triggers are much better. The D-pad will sync when pressed in the center, but it won't activate all directions at once. It has a pivot there. And you can use the same button combination to disable the backlights. If you press and hold the left stick and tap the capture button, it will become the turbo button. Then, you can use it to easily set up turbo for any of the other buttons. And in this mode, you can hold the button down to change the vibration intensity. and it can wake up the Nintendo Switch too. On your PC, you just have to plug the dongle and press Y plus home to activate the dongle mode. If it doesn't pair right away, you have to press the pairing button on the dongle. And the analog sticks are just as good as the previous version. No dead zones in the axis, and the circularity test is pretty good too. The triggers are much more precise this time. And it still retains the same macro capabilities. If you hold the button down, the macro will keep repeating. To erase a macro, just repeat the combination and press the back button without recording anything. And you can also remap buttons. And here's the Dpad test. As you can see, you cannot press all the directions at once. And you can access the diagonals by pressing only on one direction. This Dpad is very good. One of the functionalities missing from the original one is the toggle mode for the turbo function. And unfortunately, there is another problem with this controller. When you hold down the back buttons, the analog input will become unprecise like D-pads. This didn't happen with the original. So I reached out for Easy SMX and asked them if they could fix this problem before releasing the review. However, it's been a few months since that, and they could not fix this yet with a firmware update. And from the feedback that I received, it will only get fixed in the next batch of production. So you might want to wait a little bit before getting this controller if you want to avoid this problem. If there's any updates to this, I'll be fixing a comment in the comments section. Moving to the teardown, the previous controller was pretty hard to disassemble. In fact, I couldn't disassemble it at all. So this time, I asked EasySMX to send me another controller in case I break anything, because I have to tear it down this time. And same as before, I couldn't open this one too. I took the two screws and forced it as hard as I could. I forced it so hard that I even broke the clips here. But with the clips broken, it revealed that the grips are actually detachable. They are pretty hard to remove. And here's why it wouldn't open. There are 2 more screws on each side. With the screws removed, you can finally disassemble the controller. And here we can see the board and all the components. The battery has 600 milliamps. And here you can see the Hall sensing triggers. You can see the switches for the back buttons. And here's the front plate of the controller. And the button layout cannot be changed. Here's the other side of the board. The Hall effect sticks are from the K-Silver brand. And since I know how to disassemble it, let's disassemble the first version too. It's even harder on this one. They really completely seal this thing. Just look at the state of my hands. But it's finally open now. The back of the shell is identical. The battery also has 600 milliamps. But here on the board, you can see that the switches are indeed different. These are much louder. And there's a delicate flat cable connecting the triggers to the motherboard. In the first version, the triggers have rubber membranes. And we have the same build quality on the rest of the controller, with the exception of the potentiometer sticks. Another good thing to point out is that the triggers have a metal rod in the pivot. This ensures that the triggers will last a long time. And here's my final thoughts. The Bayard 9124 has a lot of potential. It improves on a lot of the flaws that the original one had. Unfortunately, this problem with the back buttons is a big step back. It's up to Easy SMX to fix it, so I recommend you to wait for the second batch and see if this problem gets resolved. If they fix this, I'll pin a comment in the comment section. As always, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.